Josh Smith with GottaBeMobile.com. I want to show you what the iPhone 5S looks like next to the iPhone 6 with a 5.5-inch display. Now, we've already shown you what the iPhone 5S looks like next to the 4.7-inch iPhone, and you'll notice that yes, it's bigger and it's a little bit wider, but it's not huge. When we make that same comparison to the iPhone 6 with a 5.5-inch screen, that's where things start to get a little bit bigger. You'll notice that there's a lot more space for this iPhone 6 5.5-inch screen. The iPhone 5S actually fits completely inside of the screen, as you can see here. And that shouldn't be a surprise because the iPhone 5S is a 4-inch screen smartphone. So Apple increased the size of the screen on the 5 to 4 inches, and they carried that over to the 5S. This year we expect a 4.7-inch and a 5.5-inch iPhone 6, and both of these come with a new design that incorporates this larger size. The thing that does carry over across all of these is we have a very similar bezel at the top and bottom, and that's actually why this is a quite large device, because we have the same size bezel at the top and the bottom. That's something that Apple's iPhones do, and that adds to the overall size. Competitors like the Galaxy S5 kind of get away with smaller bottom bezel, and although the bezel is symmetrical top and bottom, it's actually a little bit smaller than what we see on the iPhone because the home button is shaped differently. Now, one thing that is common across all of these is a Touch ID sensor, and we hear rumors that that may be upgraded on the iPhone 6 to be a little more accurate. The display, 4.7-inch with a 1704 by 960 resolution, 5.5-inch with that same resolution. These will both have higher pixel per inch ratings than the iPhone 5S, and what that should do is deliver a better looking screen for photos and videos. We've seen with big jumps from earlier versions to 720p to 1080p to now 2560 by 1440 on some Android devices, that higher resolutions do matter and they do deliver better looking displays to show off your content. From a design standpoint, we're looking at an iPhone that now has no glass on the back. So on the iPhone 5S we have glass here and glass here. On both of these models we see there's aluminum down here and aluminum up at the top. And with that, there are breaks here. We see white on both of these models, and on leaks we've seen where this white's been pulled away, and that actually shows us a small break in the metal, not a complete break, but it allows the GPS, Wi-Fi, and cellular radios to communicate better because they can't communicate well just through aluminum, and that's why there's glass on the 5S. We're also hearing that the Apple logo will be a part of that. It'll be a special material that allows communication to come through. Now, on the iPhone 5S, we have an 8-megapixel camera and a pill-shaped dual LED flash that allows the iPhone to fire at many different colors, the flash, and so you get more natural-looking, better-looking photos. With the iPhone 6, we're hearing an 8-megapixel to a 13-megapixel camera, and we expect that on both models, the 4.7-inch and the 5.5-inch. And we've seen a leaked part that shows a circular dual LED flash. So even though we don't have that same style flash that the iPhone kind of is known for, you should get that same type of overall look. Now, one thing that's really interesting about this model, if you can see it, is the camera here sticks out slightly from the iPhone. Right there, you can see it a lot better. It protrudes. Now, our other iPhone 6 mock-up does not have that protrusion, it's flat. And rumors keep going back and forth as to whether we're going to have a flat camera like we have on the iPhone 5S and on this mock-up, or whether it's going to stick out a little bit. And one of the reasons it may stick out is if the iPhone uses optical image stabilization. In order to keep a thin phone, the camera may protrude slightly to fit the components needed for that. Again, this is still really up in the air right now, so don't get too concerned about that until we see a final design. From a design standpoint, we now have more curved edges. The edges on the iPhone 6 curve, and it's a little easier to see on this model. They curve completely around, so your front edge is going to curve all the way around to the back. Now the screen's not actually curving, but it looks like the cover that's on top of the screen, the edge of that where it's going to be the white material here on the front, is going to curve around. And where that's different from the iPhone 5S, we have our straight edges with that chamfered edge right there, and that's an area where we're going to see some new overall looks for the iPhone. Other differences, we have slimmer volume buttons. So if we compare the volume buttons here, you'll see that the volume buttons on the iPhone 5S are circular, and they're pill-shaped on this iPhone 6 mock-up. The power button on the iPhone 5S is up top. On both of these iPhone 6 mock-ups, it's been relocated over here to the side, and that's so when you pick it up, you can hit that a little bit easier when you're holding the phone with one hand. Now, as far as one-handed use goes, the 5.5-inch iPhone looks like that will be a slight challenge. Even as I hold it here, it's hard to get everywhere, and sometimes you can choke up and get a better grip. And with this, I can kind of access swiping gestures and control center and apps and some parts of apps. So you should be able to do some tasks on an iPhone 6 5.5-inch with one hand, but for the most part, you're going to be holding it like this and reaching in with your other hand to do some of that. The iPhone 5S, on the other hand, pretty much no matter where you hold it, you're going to be able to reach every part of it. And that's one of the things that people really like about the iPhone 5S. The smaller iPhone 6 with a 4.7-inch display that we have here, you can't see anything on the display. It's non-functional, and we don't have a sticker on it like we see on that one. But when I hold it just right, I can reach most of the screen. That top corner and that bottom corner are still a little bit out of reach, but if you get the right grip, you're going to be able to do most tasks. I can swipe my notification center down, swipe back in Safari and in other apps that support it, and swipe up with Control Center, and still reach most of the screen as I kind of move it around with one hand, which is a lot like how I use the iPhone 5S. So that's a quick look at how these phones compare, and the most interesting is the 5.5-inch iPhone 6 versus the 4-inch iPhone 5S, and the size difference there is just pretty incredible. As you can see here, there's a lot of extra room there. This device, the Galaxy or the iPhone 6, is actually slightly taller than the Galaxy Note 3. If you head over to GottaBeMobile.com, you can see more about the iPhone 6 with 5.5-inch display and with the 4.7-inch display, and how it compares to the iPhone 5S and a variety of other devices.